My name is Arin Lindauer, and you're listening to A Life Without Struggle. I'm a wife, a mother of 2 wonderful children, a 2-time best-selling author, and a highly driven and successful entrepreneur. In my 17-plus year career as a mindset and health expert, I know what holds women back from a life you only dream about. Whether you're a CEO, a businesswoman, or executive, I started this podcast because I have been where you are, and I know you want and deserve more out of your life. I believe women are limitless. We just get lost along the way. The process to get you there is the topic and purpose of this podcast. When you understand what you want, you can truly step into a life without struggle. Welcome, and I'm so thankful you're here. Welcome back to another episode of Life Without Struggle. My name is Arin Lindauer, and today we're going to dig into a topic on silencing that voice. So everybody has the voice, right? Everybody has this internal dialogue, this negative Nelly, this voice that goes on and on and on inside of our heads. And that voice is typically not the most supportive. This voice is what some may refer to as the bitch voice. The voice may be the devil, if you will, like the angel and devil on your shoulder. But this voice is a voice that we all have, we all manage, we all listen to. And it's a voice that doesn't necessarily serve us. And so today what I want to talk into is how do we actually silence this voice? This conversation came up with a client and myself, and you're probably listening to this right now, so you are my inspiration for this topic. But it's an important topic that all women need to hear, need to listen to, need to consider, and need to understand what's actually going on when we constantly listen to this dialogue that doesn't serve us, this dialogue that really holds us back and keeps us from doing what we've been called to do. And so I want to help give you guys some tactical, here's what to do to help bring this voice down and to help reframe this voice. So first and foremost, it's understanding what is this actual voice? Why does it keep showing up? And we all have it. We all have this voice that, constantly plays in our head that says, you can't do this. You've gone on this weight loss journey so many times. You always fail. We all have this negative Nelly that just keeps us held captive. That this voice that tells us we're not worthy, we can't see the success, you've always been bigger, or, you can't possibly have toned, ripped arms or toned legs, flat stomach. It's this voice that constantly puts us down. And it's a voice that if we listen to her, that's what we get. So today, I want to dig into this pretty deep and understand that, number one, we have to be aware. We have to be aware that this voice plays out in our head. Even for myself, I have this voice that will constantly challenge myself. Can you really do what you're trying to do? I think for myself, this shows up more predominantly in business, or, who are you to lead this mission, to lead this many women? You're no different, blah, blah, blah. And so, of course, I get this voice maybe in different formats, but it absolutely parallels to any goal that we have in life. I think so many times too, we're a product of what we've been raised by, or the experiences or the environment that we're in. Think about this. You guys if you've listened to me long enough, you know that one of my very, very first jobs was in a huge cubicle farm. Everybody was just middle of the road, making ends meet, went to college, got the job working for this big name brand. And, you really felt like this was it. You got 2 weeks of vacation every single year. You got a consistent salary. And I remember, like sitting around, looking around this cubicle farm. I mean, it was literally cubicles as far as you could see. And I was like, what is going on? And you were cool if you got the window seat or you could move to a new team and have a window. And I was just like, this is not what life is supposed to be about. I should not be staring at a retention pond and a parking lot. Like, this is not inspiring. And so I remember just feeling like, is this really it? Is this really what my life boiled down to? I couldn't wait to get through high school, couldn't wait to get to college, couldn't wait to get done with college, to be in the real world. And this is it? Like, this is what I worked so hard for, and this was supposed to make me happy. And I remember constantly sitting there stewing and stirring and like literally just hating what I did. For those of you who don't know, I sold electrical parts, and I know way more about T9 electrical, light bulbs, way more than you should probably know about this stuff, but I digress. I know these things. But I remember that experience edged so deeply in me because I was like, this cannot be it. This cannot be what my life is meant to be. And I remember sitting there all the time, just questioning things like, why do we do things this way? Hey, if you summed up this procedure, this way, you could be way more efficient. You could work with more customers. You could deliver more product. I remember just constantly looking at everything from a totally different lens. And I remember getting so frustrated when I couldn't make change. And I remember leaving that job going, what the heck was that stint for? But what if I had listened to what everyone around me was saying, hey girl, this is a good job. This is the job for the next 30 years. What if I really bought into, hey, you made it. This is it. Can you imagine? I mean, I sit here and I reminisce back to that, and I look back at that time going, that was the time when I left that job to then start my business of truly transforming lives and helping women and men doing corporate accounts, going and speaking on national stages, traveling all over the country, speaking, providing retreats. And I think back to all the thousands upon thousands of transformations that we have seen with not only someone's body, of course, yes, their body physically changes, but the changes that happen to the person when they start believing in themselves, start trusting themselves. Can you imagine had I just stayed status quo? Man, I think about a lot of life I would have missed out on. I think about just a lot of different experiences that I wouldn't have had I listened to myself, staying small. This is as good as it gets. This is it. This is a good position. Don't change. Don't deviate. I can't even imagine. But too many of us listen to this voice. Too many of us think this is it. Too many of us constantly, listen to that negative Nelly in our head saying, nah, girl, you can't see those results. Nah, girl, no, just give in to the donuts, give in to, the pumpkin spice latte or whatever the fall tends to pull out here in the US. And so what I want you to really lean into after listening to this message is how many times does this voice come up for you personally? Do you even hear her? Are you so accustomed to her that it's your normal dialogue? The dialogue that I'm referring to is the dialogue of, you can't lose weight. You've tried it all. There's something wrong with you. Your hormones are jacked. You eat well, right? I'm laughing, but we all listen to this voice, and we have both sides. We have positive Patty on one shoulder, and we have the devil on the other shoulder. The devil is constantly trying to pull you down, and then you've got pure positive Patty who's like, you know what, you can do it, girl, and you'll make it a couple of days, and then it's like, to hell with it. But where I'm going with this is we have to understand when the voice is helping us and when the voice is actually hurting us. This voice can be very destructive. This voice can create a ton of anxiety, fear, wrestling with our own decisions. Have you ever had a really, really big decision and then you constantly are questioning yourself? This is where I want to go with this topic today, because this internal voice, this voice that is not serving you, is absolutely holding you back from all your dreams, everything that you want, everything you desire, if you listen to her. Here's what I want you to do, is I want you to acknowledge her. Because first and foremost, you got to understand that she even exists. Okay, because some people are completely oblivious that this voice, this internal dialogue even exists. So I want you to start listening to yourself. But more importantly, I want you to start reframing yourself. Every time you have self-doubt, I hear you. I hear you doubting me. I doubt myself. Yes, sure do. But what if I didn't? What if this time that I chose to invest in myself, get a coach, finally lose the weight, what if it actually works this time? What if I got really, really real with myself? I did all the steps. I listened to the coach. I was highly coachable. What if I did all the things that I needed to do and I saw the results that I ultimately desire? Can you imagine? Can you imagine how that feels? Now, here's the thing. I can, because I've seen it. I've seen it 100,000 times, okay? So you need to borrow the belief from someone else when you don't have the belief yourself. And a lot of times the belief isn't there because we haven't physically done it, okay? But what we have to understand is when that voice of doubt, that voice of fear, with any goal. This is business goals, this is career goals, relationship, financial, this is weight loss. When you have this self-doubt, when you have this, can I really do this? Acknowledge it. Say, yeah, you know what? I hear you. I got you. But then what I want you to do is I want you to reframe it. That what if I actually succeed this time? What if the goal has already been met? What would it feel like? How would it look? When you can start to describe the feeling, think about purchasing a new car, for example. I mean, you can tangibly go sit in this car before you're ready to purchase this car. You can feel it, you can smell it, you can even drive it and experience it. And you know what it will feel like to have accomplished this goal of purchasing this car. We need to do the same thing with the desired outcome for your body. We need to see it, feel it, believe it. Sometimes you got to see it in someone else. Sometimes you got to see like, man, how that woman in the gym, she walks around, she's so confident. I love how her clothes look on her. And it's okay. Now, don't be the creeper in the gym like staring at some other woman, but it's all good, right? I mean, when I see a woman who is in good shape, toned, has good muscle to her, has good style, I'm always like, yeah, right on, lady. And I love that look because I'm just like, that is the look. That's what everyone works towards. And it's possible. It's there. You're no different. Your hormones are no different. Maybe kind of, sort of they are, but they will get fixed. They will get balanced as you take care of yourself. Now, there could be a huge asterisk. Maybe you got something going on, but here's what I'm here to tell you. For most women, we need to get the fat off of our body. It's raising different levels of hormones, insulin resistance, and it is not serving you, but we feel like a wreck. We feel like our hormones are jacked. And technically speaking, yeah, they're probably not in a good space, but it's typically because of all the other actions and years of actions that we have done that do not support what we actually want to see. So I want you to get in tune with this voice of fear, doubt, frustration, anxiety, because what that is doing is focusing on what it is that you don't want. See, anytime you start to get upset, get challenged, it's a good thing because you're running up against your resistance. You're running up against what you know to be true for your world. And you're going to have to consider doing things differently. I even have had to do this here myself. I shared with my clients very privately that I missed my mark. I had set a goal and I missed it. And sure, I can list out all the things that happened in the timeline that I wish to hit the goal. But at the end of the day, I didn't hit my goal. It doesn't mean I just quit. It doesn't mean I say I suck. It doesn't mean that I say, screw it, I can't see these results. What it means is, hey girl, what'd you learn? What would you do differently? How would you have handled stress differently? And when you learn from what happened, you can move forward. You can move forward. And here's the only failure is if you quit. The only failure is when you just throw your hands up in the air, you say, woe is me, and you say, I'm not going to go after for what I want anymore. So I want you to acknowledge this voice that's in your head, this voice that it is not serving you. And I want you to start acknowledging her, say, hey, I hear you, but what if we hit the goal? What if everything came to fruition that you desired? What would it look like? How would it feel? Can you see it? Can you feel it? Can you taste it? So those are the things that I want you to really lean into from listening to this podcast here today, because the worst thing that can come from this is you get all yay, rah, rah from listening to something motivational, but you do nothing about it. And here's where I'm going to tell you too, is silencing this voice is easier said than done. For myself personally, learning how to silence this voice took a lot of coaching, took a lot of support from my coaches that I lean into. Had I not had the people in my core, I don't even think I would have been so aware to how negative this voice had been and how to actually reframe it. This is where I highly recommend enlisting the help with a coach. This is why I created my program where we get your foundation firm as far as what do you need to do in order to prime and get your body ready for weight loss. Now, can you see weight loss in the foundational part of my program? Heck yes, most people do. After you get the foundation firm, then you're going to go into rapid fat loss. In rapid fat loss, you're going to question like, okay, is this okay? Should I be doing it this way? And this is where having a coach to help silence that inner voice, to help you navigate stress and things that are going on in your life can be so helpful and so beneficial. But you have to be coachable through this process. And then the third step is we're going to optimize you. We're going to optimize where your health is, where you want to go with it, but it all starts with one critical step. You've got to take action towards the things that you want in life. Quit sitting on your hands. Quit thinking that you're going to search the internet and find a solution on TikTok, right? Like hire a real professional that can help you, because silencing this voice is everything. She's in there. She exists. She exists in all of us, but we can reframe her. We can help her learn and understand that, you know what? Yeah, I am a little scared, but you know what? I do scary things. And guess what? 9 times out of 10, I come out on top. And more times than not, the more you work towards the things that you actually want, and that requires you knowing. You need to know what it is that you want. But the more times you do this, the more this just becomes a part of who you are. Of course, you hit your goals and then some. All right, ladies, as always, reach out to me on any social medias, hit me up in a private message, and let's get going. Let's silence this voice that does not serve you and reframe her into a voice that does. All right, see you later.